Hi guys, welcome back to, or if this is your first time, welcome to Ampersand Unique Gifts and Home Decor. My name is Sarah. I'm enjoying a beautiful evening out here on my porch, and I have today 3 thrifted items. I've got buckets and baskets that I have upcycled and given a new look. Not everything went exactly as planned. For example, I didn't expect that I would be doing this in the dark in the evening, but I can't wait to show you how these turned out in the end, and let me know in the comments which one was your favorite. So for one thing, I filmed some of this in vertical and some of it in horizontal, so I apologize up front for some of the weird angles. So I got this planner. I picked it up at Goodwill. It was hand painted. It had the plastic basket inside, so I pulled it out while I worked on it. And I sanded down that picture just enough that there wasn't any texture, but I still wanted to find a way to refresh this and give it a little bit of a new look, kind of lighten up some of that reddish tone. So I'm using the DIY wax in the color white and a JRV stencil brush just because it had those nice stiff bristles that are perfect for dabbing that in there. And then I just used a wet wipe to kind of tone it back a little bit and bring off all of that excess, because that is actually just what I had handy. Usually I would just use a rag. You can use a paper towel, but I went in and dabbed it in there, did a couple different coats, and I'm going to do around the bottom too, but the middle I did not do because I am painting it with the DIY Cottage color in white linen. And because this does have a built-in sealer, you have to shake it. I don't think I've ever had to shake any of the regular DIY paints, but this sealer kind of settles and you just give it a good shake and it is ready to go. It has that built-in sealer and it is a one and done, one-step paint, but look at that coverage. I absolutely love these Cottage colors. So again, this is white linen. I'm going to actually give it 2 coats. I think 1 would have been enough, but I'm going to be using a transfer over this that you can see the background. And I just really wanted to make sure it was good. So look, see how great that is? And I love the way it looks with that white wax on there. So I'm using the Birds on a Branch from the IOD transfer, the Brocante transfer. And here is my next semi-fail, if you will. And putting this on a curved surface, I like to go ahead and kind of cut out some places so it'll curve better. And all I have to say is I really was lucky with that sealed paint. It is almost like a glass, if you will, and the transfer will grab and stick. But I was so lucky that I was able to reposition it a little bit because I just was having a hard time getting it to go over this round surface and not want to go off on funky angles on the side. So I kept cutting it, cut out some little pieces, and that way it would curve better. And then I just used, if you've never used one of these transfers, they all come with this stick and you just want to hold it down and apply it. And I did once I got going. I really held it still so it didn't slip, because a lot of times when you're doing a transfer like this and you don't tape it down, it could slide and then it would tear your transfer and you'd end up with a big chunk missing. So I just go through and you can kind of see when it's attaching well, because the transfer itself will get a little bit lighter on here. And I had some tails that went down over that lip on the bottom, and then one of them where its head went up over on the lip. And just since I was kind of going over the curve, I did cut off the extra. I'll do that sometimes just to avoid that big extra piece from slipping and causing the rest of my transfer to pull up. And then I take it and I just burnish it down, and that's just making sure any place maybe it kind of stuck a little bit, but my stick didn't push it down, and that gives it a chance to really attach it. I wanted to distress it a little bit. You can see I have a helper. She has been so nosy during this entire time. So I just sanded it with some really light, I think it was 240 grit, just to kind of work it in, and that's to kind of hide the blemishes from where it went up over the edge and some places that kind of overlapped and didn't stick from where I was on that curve. So I have this huge chunk of floral that I actually am pulling out of a trash bag that I gave to my daughter to sell, and I have finally had to reclaim it all because I keep pulling pieces out. I am definitely not a organizer, flower designer, florist, but I just keep going in with different textures and trying to give it different heights and variations, and using all these in a similar color. And I've got some pieces there that are from an old Christmas tree that I just cut them off, and that gave me some good greenery to put in there. And I just continued and went and filled until all of my floral foam was covered. All right, so our second project is a metal, and I really honestly think it was handmade just by the way the cutouts on the side were for the handle. It is a piece of barbed wire, and it had this floral in it, which actually was really good. This lavender was very real-like, and I looked at the tag, and it was from Michael's, and there's a total of 4 bunches in there. So I have to admit, it made it a much better thrifted find than I thought, because I will use those in the spring. I'm going to give it a really good cleaning. These holes are cut out, and I thought it was a really good job the way that they were cut out. I love kind of the primitive look to it, if you will. It was dirty. The white paint that was on it had kind of faded in some places, and it had some places that kind of looked like bleed through. So I am going to, again, using my Cottage color and white linen, I'm going to give it 2 coats of a paint job here, and that's my husband picking on me because he's sitting on the table and realized that I was videoing. So again, I just give everything 2 coats, front and back. And here I am. This is definitely off-label use for my poor kitchen knife. But where I painted, it got down in those stars, and I really wanted you to be able to see that hole in there. And I'm going to give it a nice fancy bling with some of the IOD gilding wax in the color Golden Rule. And I just love this. It's perfect for the holiday season, but I think that this item I think all of these items are not necessarily Christmas. I'm making them look a little Christmas by adding the floral, but you could definitely use this any time of year. So I go back and I even give a little bling to the barbed wire. I mean, what is cooler than gold barbed wire? And after I got everything, here are, this was my my next epic fail in this process. I tried to use the masking tape and I couldn't get it down in there, and then I realized I couldn't see down in there, and my hands are bigger than I thought. That's smaller than I thought. I finally, with some Scotch tape, was able to get all of those in and on the front, so that when I put this styrofoam in there, and this is just leftover styrofoam, if you guys throw that away, definitely don't, because if you need something here, it was skinny. I didn't have to cut the block of floral foam, and it gave me the perfect base to poke these flowers. Next we have, this is my my next fail. This broke in half. I don't know. I mean, it was fine. I went to sand it a little bit, and it literally broke in half. So I glued it back together, and I was sanding off kind of where the glue had come through. And I just was giving these a nice scuff sand so that I could use my next project and paint I was just going to paint the center, so I'm just cleaning up there. I discovered I could actually pull those little handles out, and it would make it 1,000 times easier to paint these little guys. So I did exactly that. Using the Cottage color, oh my goodness, what's wrong with me? In Crockery, this is definitely my favorite color. I've used this on everything if you've been watching any of my other videos. So I'm going to carefully paint only the center. Wrong. Next challenge for me. Because of those edges were rounded, they weren't really, it was a rounded bucket. I ended up going ahead and just completely painting them, because no matter how many times I tried, it didn't give me a straight line, and I couldn't get it taped. And so I wasn't going to paint the wheel either, but you really could see where I had glued it back together, and it completely covered with the paint. You cannot see it. It was smooth. It was just a texture look where you could kind of still see it. So here I am again. My next fun fail is apparently when I put my IOD transfers on there, I didn't make sure I paid attention to where the holes for the handle were. And so I distressed everything, just showing you I distressed it a little bit. So yeah, the pictures are not in the middle, but once I get everything together, you really can't tell, and it still looks beautiful. Again, just kind of getting some of this floral that I had saved, and I think the key to using some of the floral, especially if you get it from the dollar store or wherever, these particular ones are from Joann's. And I have to admit, I think this looks like berries and a bunch of poison ivy leaves. But anyway, I decided to cut the leaves off. I do end up folding that bar in and kind of making a loop and then still using those leaves down in there as a coverage over the top of that styrofoam, so I didn't have to use like, Spanish moss or anything like that. But I just continue to go through and fill these all in. The transfers on the front of this, apparently I did not film that, but the transfers on the front of these little buckets are from the IOD Transfer classic pots, and they're really cute. They all look like different things you could put on different crockery or pots, and I used the floral themed. So here we go. I just, I'm poking different flowers in, and I wanted everything to have a cohesive look for the holidays. Here they are before I really started doing it. And here it is when they're finished. So let me know in the comments which one was your favorite. Thanks for watching, guys.
It's cold outside, but the fire keeps us warm. We can spend the night underneath the mistletoe. And I've gotten you a present that I put under the tree. Tomorrow it is Christmas, the first for you and me. The snow is falling down and the storm is on its way. But as long as you're around, everything will be okay. 'Cause all I wanna do is spend this holiday with you. Tomorrow it is